How many goblins could a goblin gob if a goblin could gob goblins?
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMUDSTA to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game features the Punt Squad, and I'm playing Orvar, keeping 2 islands, Darksteel Citadel, Trait Doctrine, Arcane Denial, Swan Song, and Inundate. Omar is playing Licia, keeping a Needleverge Pathway, Mountain, Plains, Greed, Swiftfoot Boots, Force of Despair, and Phyrexian Reclamation. Adam is playing his newly built Magda deck, keeping an Arcane Signet, Metallic Mimic, Taurian Mauler, and 4 mountains. Scott is playing his almost completely signed Maelstrom Wanderer deck, keeping Summoner's Pact, Bloodstained Mire, Sylvan Ranger, Llanowar Elves, Misty Rainforest, and Marwyn. I win the die roll and start us off. I draw and play an island. Omar plays a Plains. Adam's turn has him playing a mountain and paying 1 to cast Faithless Looting. He draws 2 and discards 2. Scott plays a forest and taps it for a green to cast Llanowar Elves. I just play another island and pass to Omar. Omar plays a mountain and casts a Felwar Stone. Adam plays a mountain as well, and he casts a Metallic Mimic. It comes in, and he names dwarves as it enters, and passes. Scott plays a Reflecting Pool, and has enough mana for Marwyn, and passes it back to me. I just play an island, and pass back to Omar. Omar plays a Needleverge Pathway, and then taps enough for Talisman of Hierarchy. He still has enough after that for a Swiftfoot Boots, and then passes to Adam. Adam plays a mountain for turn, and then casts an Arcane Signet. He taps enough after that for a Magda, who enters and gains a +1/+1 counter from the Mimic. Adam then goes to combat and swings the Mimic at Scott for 3. Because he taps a dwarf, Magda makes him a treasure, and Scott then takes the hit, and Adam passes. Scott plays a Misty Rainforest for his land for turn, and then taps 2 for a Sylvan Ranger. He hits a counter to Marwyn as it enters, and then finds an island to put to hand. He then cracks the Misty Rainforest, losing 1 to go and find a land, and shortcuts first by swinging the Llanowar Elves at me, and Marwyn and Omar. I draw and play Darksteel Citadel. I then tap 4 mana for Orvar, and pass to Omar. Omar taps 4 mana also to make some treasures like Adam is by casting a Smothering Tithe. He then passes to Adam. Adam draws and lets Omar make a treasure token. He then plays a mountain for his land drop and plays out a Taurian Mauler. It gets a +1/+1 counter from the Mimic as well because it's also a dwarf. And the Mauler has haste thanks to the anger in Adam's yard. He then goes at Scott with the Mauler and the Mimic, and Magda smacks Omar, while Adam also makes more treasure tokens from tapping dwarves. Scott lets Omar get the treasure from the Tithe trigger, and in his main phase casts an Expedition map, and pays 2 to sacrifice it and go and find a land to put to hand. It's a Gaia's Cradle, which he plays as his land for turn, and then passes. I draw, and Omar gains a treasure token. I then play an island, and pass. Omar draws and sacrifices 3 treasures to cast Necropotence, and then dumps 10 life into it, setting aside 10 cards to put to hand at the end of turn. He then moves to his end step, and puts them to his hand, and then discards them, /exiles them, as he finishes his cleanup step. Adam has also been adding counters to his Mauler as stuff is cast. Adam doesn't pay the 2 as he draws, and plays a mountain, and then goes all out at Scott. Adam makes 3 more treasures from swinging, and Scott blocks the Mauler with his Ranger. He does take 6, 3 of which is from Magda. And in his second main phase, Adam then plays out an Aggravated Assault, and passes. Scott also doesn't pay the 2 to the Smothering Tithe, and plays an island. He taps his Cradle and all of his mana for a Maelstrom Wanderer. Adam gets a counter on his Mauler, and Scott cascades first into a Beast Whisperer, with Adam adding another counter to the Mauler. Scott then hits a Shardless Agent on the second cascade, drawing a card first from the now resolved Beast Whisperer, and then cascades from the agent. He hits a Beastcaller Savant, drawing a card from the Beast Whisperer again, and he then resolves the Beastcaller Savant, and then the Shardless Agent. Scott then casts an Elvish Mystic, drawing another card, and Omar and Adam take up their respective dice on their token/creature. Marwan has also gained some counters, and Scott then casts a Phantasmal Image, having it come in as a copy of the Beast Whisperer, and drawing again. I draw and play a Swarmyard. I then cast Trait Doctrine and target an island. I make a token copy of the land, and then cipher the spell onto my commander. I go to combat and hit Omar with Orvar. This lets me cast Trait Doctrine again, and I get to make another island token and pass. Omar doesn't draw in his draw step because of Necropotence, and in his main phase pays enough to bring out Licia, with Adam adding another counter to the Mauler. Omar then gears up the Vampire with the boots and goes at Scott with Licia. Scott declares no blocks, and this has Omar responding by using Licia's ability to pay 5 life and give her 3 +1/+1 counters. Scott then takes 7, with Omar gaining 7 life. And at this point, Adam asks me a good question.
Andrew, have you got anything in the deck? Or in your hand?
In that deck.
Those 100 cards.
Both of those questions are very cutting. Omar then dumps another 10 life into Necropotence and sets aside 10 cards to put to hand at the end of turn. He then passes through his steps to his end step and moves to discard down to 7. He exiles them as he discards them, and one of those cards is Aetherflux Reservoir, which just seems insane to me. Adam sacrifices 5 treasures at the end of turn as well to use Magda's other ability, and goes into his library to put to field a dragon or an artifact. He finds a Balefire Dragon, and eyes up Scott's lack of flyers. Adam untaps and draws. Omar adds a treasure, and Adam goes to combat. He swings the Balefire at Scott, and the Mauler at Omar, and Magda at me so I won't feel left out. Omar responds before we move to blocks, and casts Teferi's Protection to try and phase out. This prompts me to cast Swan Song and counter it, so Omar has to deal with it, but I do give him a blocker. Omar gets his bird token, and before changing phases, Adam uses Chaos Warp to try and take out the blocker. Omar then shuffles it up, and gets ready to reveal, while Adam adds 2 more counters to the Mauler because of spells being cast. Omar then reveals Kambal off the top in a spicy turn of fate. He's then able to block the Mauler, and Scott takes 6 from the Balefire Dragon, which wipes out Scott's board, and I take 3 from Magda. Adam then pays 5 to use Aggravated Assault and gets an additional combat step. The Mauler heads back at Omar, while the rest of the team take a break from Bastion and Scott and go at me. I take the 12, 3 of which is from Magda, and Adam gains more treasures. In his second main phase, Adam then drops a Bloodfire Dwarf and passes, while I Wizard Cycle Vidalcan Aethermage. Scott plays a Forest and casts Garruk Wildspeaker. He downticks the Walker to make a 3/3 Beast token, and I find and reveal Master of Waves putting to hand. Scott then passes to me. I untap and draw. I play a Riptide Laboratory and then pay 6 mana for Inundate. All non-blue creatures go back to their owner's hands, and I then pass to Adam. Adam plays a Mountain for turn and recasts a Metallic Mimic, naming Dwarves, and then replays the Mauler and Magda so they each come in with a +1/+1 counter. Scott plays and cracks a Wooded Foothills, losing 1 to find a tropical island. He then taps some lands, untaps them with Garruk's Plus ability, and then taps some more for the saddest Tishana. The Merfolk enters and draws him only 1 card. And Scott then pays 2 mana for a Rattleclaw Mystic, and passes to me. My turn is fast as I tap 7 for a Galecaster Colossus, and pass to Adam, who's adding more counters to the Mauler. Adam pays 2 for an Underworld Breach in his main phase, and then exiles enough cards from his graveyard to cast Chaos Warp and target my Galecaster. With the spell in the stack, I activate the Galecaster and bounce Adam's Aggravated Assault back to hand. I then shuffle the Giant in and reveal Sword of the Anime off the top after shuffling. Adam then heads at me, and the Mauler goes at Scott. Adam also gains 3 treasures from tapping dwarves, and Scott and I both take the hits. Adam then recasts the Bloodfire Dwarf, and it gets a counter as it comes in, and he passes to Scott. Scott plays a Nykthos as his land for turn, and taps enough to recast the Wanderer. He cascades into an Incubation Druid, and then a Lotus Cobra, with Adam adding 3 more counters to the Mauler. Scott then upticks Garruk to untap 2 lands, and with the ability on the stack and targeting, Adam sacrifices 5 treasures to Magda's ability. He goes to find an artifact, putting out Spine of Ishsa, and blowing up Gaia's Cradle. Nykthos is then untapped as the ability from Garruk resolves. Scott then activates Nykthos by tapping his dorks since they have haste, and makes a bunch of green mana, using 4 of it to cast Natural Order, and sacrificing the Mystic as part of the cost. Adam responds to the spell in the stack by sacrificing his Bloodfire Dwarf, which deals 1 to each creature. This takes out the Lotus Cobra, and hopefully lowers the damage output from a Craterhoof Behemoth at this point. Scott then goes and tutors for a creature, and puts out a Pathbreaker Ebek. With 3 green floating still, Scott casts a Summoner's Pact for 0. He finds a Fierce Empath, and puts it to hand, and then casts it, going to find another creature card that costs 6 or more. He reveals an Inferno Titan, and puts it to hand. Scott then does some math, and has enough to take out Adam as he taps everything and sends it in his direction. Adam can't stop the hit, and gets taken out, and Scott passes. I play a Master of Waves in my main phase, making only 1 Seahorse, and passing to Scott. Scott untaps, and pays for his upkeep cost, and plays a Bloodstained Mire. He then cracks it, losing 1 to find a Taiga. He then taps a ton of mana, he uses 6 of that floating mana for an Inferno Titan, dealing 3 to me as it enters, and once that's resolved, casts the Craterhoof Behemoth we were so afraid of on his last turn. With the Craterhoof ability on the stack, I cast a Cryptic Command, choosing the modes of tapping all of Scott's creatures and drawing a card. With my humble 2-1 Master of the Waves way clear, Scott realizes he's done for in my combat step, and scoops it up as we move on to the next game. Game review time. So my winning line relied entirely on the fact that Scott killed Adam, and I was very fortunate that he did, because frankly I had nothing to stop both of my opponents. Plus, Adam's life total was so high that it would have taken me some kind of miracle to be able to bring him down before he killed me. It just goes to show how explosive Scott's Maelstrom Wanderer deck is. If he can take someone from 40 to 0 in 1 turn, mostly with mana dorks. I'm pretty sure Omar took 20 life to try and find the other piece of his combo, but since it's a singleton format with 100 card decks, sometimes you just don't get there, no matter how deep you go. Adam's Magda deck is fantastic, and I love her pump and her treasure generating ability, not to mention her last ability, which is so powerful by tutoring a dragon or an artifact to the board. As you saw, Adam was using it at the end of other people's turns to great effect, and I've been so impressed with Magda, I've been trying to brainstorm a way to include it into Ready, but I just don't think I have the treasure support.